The small college town of Ravensbrook had always been shrouded in a quiet, unassuming gloom, the kind that lingers in old towns with secrets too tangled to discuss. But beneath its cobblestone streets and ivy-covered walls, there existed a legend, a whisper that never quite faded. It spoke of the cursed creature areas, patches of land where creatures, beasts terrible and unnatural, were said to dwell, caught in a limbo of torment and darkness. These places, known locally as the Hollow Grounds, were marked by twisted trees, dead silence, and an atmosphere heavy with malevolence. Sophie Turner, a curious and adventurous junior at Ravensbrook College, had heard the stories since she moved to town 2 years ago. Tales of students vanishing, of shadows moving at the edge of vision, and of strange sounds emanating from the woods. Most dismissed these stories as folklore or campus lore to scare freshmen. But Sophie was skeptical. She believed in evidence, in rational explanations. That is, until she found herself drawn to the legend of the Hollow Grounds. It was a cold fall evening when Sophie, her best friend Marco, and her roommate Lily decided to explore one of the known spots, an overgrown clearing near the edge of the town forest, where the legends claimed cursed creatures roamed. They brought flashlights, snacks, and a mix of bravado and caution. The air was thick with fog, and the moon cast pale silver light through the skeletal branches, creating eerie shadows that danced as they moved. Their footsteps crunched over fallen leaves as they entered the Hollow Grounds, a tangled mess of trees twisted like gnarled hands, roots protruding from the earth like grasping fingers. The ground was saturated and muddy, and an unsettling stillness pressed upon them. Sophie's pulse quickened with an inexplicable thrill. Probably just animals, Lily whispered, trying to mask her unease. Or maybe just the wind. But the wind was absent. An unnatural silence had settled, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl that sounded too hollow, too hollowed out. Sophie shivered, though she told herself it was from the cold. As they ventured deeper, the shadows seemed to shift. Shapes moved behind trees, flickering in the faint glow of their flashlights. Sophie's eyes caught brief glimpses of figures, a snout here, a pair of glowing eyes there, just out of sight, but enough to make her heart race. Suddenly, Marco stopped. "Did you see that?" he asked, voice trembling. A shadow had crossed the clearing, darting behind a tree with unnatural speed. "Probably an animal," Lily said, though her voice cracked. "Let's just go back." But curiosity snaked through Sophie's mind. She hesitated, then stepped toward where she thought the shadow had disappeared. The others hesitated too, but she pressed on, drawn by a force she couldn't explain. As she approached, the air grew colder, her breath visible in the flickering beam of her flashlight. She saw something, a creature, hunched and trembling, with matted fur and eyes burning with fear and malice. It was not quite animal, not quite person. Its face was twisted, sharp teeth bared in a snarl. Suddenly, the creature's gaze locked onto Sophie. A primal scream erupted from its throat, raspy and guttural, sending shivers down her spine. She stumbled back, heart pounding. "Run!" Lily shouted, grabbing her arm. The creature lunged, claws scraping the air where Sophie had stood moments before. It was fast, faster than any beast she'd ever seen. The others sprinted, terror fueling their legs as they fled from the cursed area. Back outside the woods, they dared not look back. They burst through the tree line, gasping for breath, their flashlights trembling in their hands. When they reached the safety of their dormitory, they slammed the door shut and collapsed to the floor, trembling. But the nightmare wasn't over. Over the following days, strange things began to happen. Sophie found scratches on her arms, yet she couldn't remember how she got them. Lily reported hearing whispers from the woods, calling her name at night. Marco's eyes sometimes glowed faintly in the dark, a terrifying, unnatural shimmer. And then there was the creature. Sophie started seeing glimpses of it, lurking in the shadows, watching her with those burning eyes. Sometimes, she thought she could hear its low growls even when she was alone. It seemed to follow her, a specter of terror she couldn't escape. One night, Sophie dreamt of the Hollow Grounds again. The creature was waiting for her, its form more horrifying than ever, its body a patchwork of fur, bones, and human parts, stitched together in a grotesque mosaic. It beckoned her forward with a terrible whisper. "Stay. Never leave. You belong here." She awoke trembling, clutching her pillow as if to hide. The message seeped into her mind. She had become part of the curse, an immortal resident of the cursed creature areas. Determined to end her suffering, Sophie returned to the Hollow Grounds, armed with what she thought was a simple plan: destroy the creature's lair, or at least find a way to break the curse. But as she ventured once more into the darkness, the line between reality and nightmare blurred. She realized she was not alone. Something was waiting for her at the edge, something much worse than before. In a flash of claws and teeth, the creature appeared again, its eyes glowing with relentless hunger. Sophie screamed as darkness swallowed her entire world, the last thing she saw being those terrible, burning eyes staring into her soul. Some say the Hollow Grounds still hide the cursed creatures, waiting for the next curious soul to stumble into their eternal prison. And if you listen closely, in the dead silence of Ravensbrook, you can sometimes hear faint whispers, inviting, warning, eternal. And beware. Because once you enter the cursed areas, you might never find your way back.